In this video, I would like to induct Gatos Silver to the Mining Hall of Fame. And what do I mean by Mining Hall of Fame? You see, in my book, mining stocks are supposed to disappoint. If they don't disappoint, then they are in the Hall of Shame. But if they do disappoint, they are inducted to the Hall of Fame. If you're new to this channel, my name is Mariusz Konieczny. I run Microcap Explosions, a private membership website dedicated for microcap stocks which are hated and ignored by the investment industry. I also wrote 10 books on investing, one of which is available for a free download at microcapexplosions.com, so make sure you get yourself a copy. Gatos Silver was one of the hottest silver stocks on the block, backed by some of the greatest minds in the industry, run by some of the greatest minds in the industry, and some of the greatest minds in the industry invested in the company. The company went public because there was a lot of interest for mining stocks for a very good reason. The Fed is printing money, creating inflation. Gold and silver are undervalued metals, which will only go up because of these macroeconomic forces. Therefore, there was a lot of interest for a company like Gatos Silver, and because such big names, great individuals were invested, a lot of retail money followed. So with that being said, let's watch a short clip introducing the company, just in case you have never heard about it.
Gatos Silver we're a silver-focused exploration development, and most recently, now a production company. And we now have a package totaling over 103,000 contiguous hectares. And on these mineral rights, we've had the good fortune of discovering 14 separate zones of mineralization. Then, as interest in silver and silver equities began increasing, in mid-2020, we decided that this was a great time to do a public listing. So on October 28th of 2020, we completed an initial public offering on the New York Stock Exchange and the Toronto Stock Exchange, raising $173 million. And that actually made the Gatos Silver IPO the largest precious metals financing on the NYSE and TSX in 2020. The Cerro Los Gatos mine has now completed its commissioning phase. It is operating at its design production rate of 2,500 tons per day and is now, I'm happy to report, cash flow positive. The first is that the company has really unconstrained organic growth potential, and we've only explored 15% of that package to date. The second is the grade of this deposit. And our silver grade alone is 306 grams per ton, making Cerro Los Gatos one of the highest silver grade mines of our operating peers. Now, our fourth point of differentiation is, I believe, Gatos Silver's ability to grow organically and not be required to engage in M&A to effect further growth. I have over 40 years of experience in the industry, and I've been the Chief Executive Officer of Gatos Silver since 2011. But previously, I was President, Director, and Chief Executive Officer at Ventana Gold Corporation. Prior to that, I was Director and Chief Executive Officer at Oceana Gold Corporation. Before that, I was Vice President of North American Operations and then Managing Director of Australia and Africa for Barrick Gold Corporation, based in Toronto. Well, 2021 is our first full year of production, and we're calling it a year of optimization. We expect to produce between 7.5 to 7.9 million ounces of silver, 4.5 to 5,000 ounces of gold, 40 to 42 million pounds of lead, and 49 to 52 million pounds of zinc. And we expect to do that at an all-in sustaining cost between $17 to $17.50 per ounce. In terms of production, we achieved record performance from Cerro Los Gatos during the second quarter of this year, and we were able to exceed design production rates from the mine. The mine is designed at 2,500 tons per day, and we were able to produce at about 35 per day. The processing plant has performed since commissioning remarkably well. And we were able to produce just over 2,600 tons per day through the processing plant, which is exceeding its 2,500 ton per day design target. Additionally, and more importantly, the metal recoveries in the processing plant have exceeded design for silver, lead, zinc, silver, lead, and zinc. And so silver, we now get between 89 and 90% recovery, 90% on the lead, and about 75% on the zinc. So in the second quarter alone, we produced 2.1 million ounces of silver, 1,500 ounces of gold, 11.2 million pounds of lead, and 14.5 million pounds of zinc. And our all-in sustaining costs, remembering that we're targeting $17 to $17.50 in Q2, it was $11.50 per ounce on a co-product basis. On a byproduct basis, if we subtract the revenue from the byproduct metals from that, our cost is only $2.87 per ounce.
As you can see, fantastic story during a fantastic time, a bull market in the precious metals. The biggest names involved in the company: Rick Rule, Thomas Kaplan from the Electrum Group, which specializes in natural resource investing. Analysts extremely bullish on the company. So you're in good hands. What could possibly go wrong? Well, you probably didn't watch my video series on why I hate the mining stocks. And if you didn't, I suggest you do, because it could save you a lot of money. Recently, I was contacted by a person that said, I should have listened to it, and instead I lost $30,000. Well, yeah, I suggest you do listen and watch why I hate the mining video series. So what happened? The stock did quite well from the IPO to its peak, and as you can see in the stock price. And so, the story was popular. The story was great. The good names were backing the company, and then the stock did well. And as you heard in the interview with the CEO, he was bragging about and saying all these good things about how the company is outperforming. The recoveries are better, the production is better, the profitability is better, it's cash flow positive, and it was outperforming. And then what happened? If you go back to the stock price again, it's in a free fall. It's an absolute bloodbath. So a few things happened. One is the company reported a loss. Then there were some announcements about management changes. And anytime you see management changes, you see that the management changes are not happening because the manager decided to go and play some golf, even though in the press release they thank the particular manager for the contribution and the effectiveness and all of the wonderful things. But in reality, the manager is getting fired, and then the press release is just written to save face. But I guess the most important and the most brutal thing that came out was pointed out in the Motley Fool article, which says that there were errors in the report. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, deja vu. In other words, they thought they had this much silver or whatever resource in the ground. Oops, we made a mistake. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the mining world where anything is possible. It brings me back to the days of Arcana Corporation, which also happens to be a silver producer. They had this, I think it was like 200 million ounces of silver in the ground. One time they report, oops, we made a mistake. We don't have that much. And so now me listening to this press release now, or me reading this press release, it's like reliving the old days. Oops, we thought we had this much in the ground, but we don't. And this is the kind of stuff that happens in mining all the time. You see, mining is a business that relies on depleting resource, right? You're mining stuff from the ground and it depletes over time. So how much resource you have in the ground gives you the mine life, gives you the revenues over however many years. If you have this much in the ground and this much will generate another this much of revenues. And now if they say, oops, we don't have this much, we only have this much, obviously this completely changes the equation and people are fleeing the stock, selling the stock, and the stock is in the free fall. And you might think to yourself, well, how is this even possible? You have a CEO that has, as he said, 40 years of experience. You have somebody like Rick Rule who specializes in this sector. You have somebody like Tom Kaplan from the Electrum Group, which owns like over 30% of the stock. And then you have Spratt Asset Management, that is one of the shareholders. All of these great minds, all of these geniuses, all of the people that I actually do respect in the company, how could this be possible? That's exactly what's possible in mining. And that's exactly why I made my Why I Hate Mining video series, because I want to tell you how terrible this mining business is. Do you remember the quote from Warren Buffett? You want to buy businesses that even an idiot can run, because one day an idiot will run it. Well, I'm going to rewrite this quote a little bit and say, do not buy businesses that even a genius cannot run. That's my quote for the mining industry. This industry is unbelievable. And you see, you come into it, you watch these wonderful interviews, you watch these great investors that are backing these companies and saying all these wonderful things about these companies. You heavily put your money into it, because I know a lot of retail people, they listen to this, they listen to these guys because they're wearing a suit, they have a nice presentation, and then they put a large amount of money in them, and then something like this happens, and then they lose their shirt. And then, you know what? Then you don't hear anything about follow-up from these people. Oops, we made a mistake. And I'm not even saying that they made a mistake. They were basing their decisions based on the information that they had. But when you have a terrible business that's so unexpected, like anything can happen. You can have, oops, we made a mistake on a resource. Oops, they took our concession away. Oops, the government took our property. Oops, this. Oops, the costs are double than we thought. That's what mining business is all about. And people listen to this stuff, they get excited because they want to make a lot of money, they want to make 10 beggars, and nobody comes out and says the truth behind this. And there is, good information out there if you really want to speculate in this sector. First of all, read my freaking 2 books. One is Gold Production from Beginning to End, and the second one is How Gold Companies Finance Themselves. Read those books, because I want to extract as much money from you as possible to give me the $20. And then after you give me the $20 for the book, then you can go and speculate. And then when you lose your shirt, after watching my video series, at least you will know why you lost your shirt, instead of scratching your head and not understanding what happened to you. I'm at least telling you the way it is. This is a terrible business. This is what happens all the time, and just be careful out there. So there is really nothing else for me to say about Gatos Silver here, other than, yeah, congratulations. I know you guys are smart. I'm not blaming you as an individuals. You obviously have a lot of knowledge in this business. I respect your knowledge, but unfortunately, you are involved in this terrible business. And I wish that when you open your mouth, you would just make people be aware that this is a terrible business, and this is a very risky business, so that people can actually, invest in those ideas accordingly and put, only small amounts of money into these risky opportunities, instead of listening to you and trusting every word you say as if it's, coming from a saint, and then losing their shirt because they're following you. So that's it for this video. Congrats to Gatos Silver for being conducted to the My Hall of Mining Fame. You delivered to the expectations, which is you disappointed the way I think the mining companies are the best at. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.